Woo, what's up, y'all? So, we'll walk y'all through diagnosing this one. So we got this 95 in. Used to belong to another friend of mine, dude that I met through the car world and everything like that. He brought it to me. It needed some work. He ended up selling the car. So the customer who bought the car has now brought it to me to get some work done. From what I understand, the car will run fine. And then out of nowhere, it'll lose all spark and fuel. I don't know how they verified that, but whoever he spoke to or whoever has worked on the car previously said it loses spark and fuel. They suspected, and he said it might be the computer. Very rarely off the top, I know the computers normally don't go bad on these. It's a very it's very rare computer goes bad. I see the mass airflow has been changed. Opti looks new. Looks like the ignition control module's been changed. It looks like somebody's threw the parts cannon at this thing pretty hard. So I already ran the codes on it. It is a 95, so the OBD2 does not work. But shout out to my boy Danovan Dean. For my birthday, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, he gave me a OBD1 reader, and it is worth its weight in gold. So I've already pulled the codes on it, and this is the code that it's bringing up. So it's a 43 module or sensor circuit problem. ESC is electric spark control. So that could mean a few things. From what I've pulled up in Identifix, spark knock sensors. So we're going to start there. I've been trying to run it. Well, I'm going to try to run it to try to replicate the problem. Because he said you'll run it, sometimes 5 minutes, it'll shut off and then it won't start back up. So if I can get it to replicate that problem, I can test for fuel. If it has fuel, then we know it's not a fuel issue. Then test for spark. If we don't have spark, then we can work our way backwards. Okay, there's no spark at the coil. Okay, let's see if there's spark at if there's no spark at the plugs, let's check spark at the coil. Okay, there's spark at the coil, but no spark at the plugs, then we probably have a distributor problem. But if we have no spark at the coil, no spark at the plugs, then we'll start looking into maybe a coil issue, ignition control module issue. Even though it's been changed, just because it's new doesn't mean it works. And we'll kind of work our way back from there. But based on my research, code 43 is normally knock sensors. The knock sensors are buried down on the side of the block. So what I'm going to put it in the air and make sure they're plugged in, for one, because sometimes it's something as simple as that. They're just not plugged in. Maybe somebody went in there and put a starter in it or something and broke the wire or something like that. So let's get it in the air, and then we will investigate the knock sensors. Worst case scenario, we'll throw a set in there and look at them and see how they look, and kind of go from there. So let y'all check this one out. Beautiful car. Some looks like some 24-inch Ruccis. Are they floating? Floaty caps. Green custom interior. Oh yeah, it's pretty. Put this license plate down. Now, me personally, I don't care if people see my license plate. As you know, I don't care, but some people feel some kind of way about it, so I try to hide my customers' license plates. So, and don't worry, guys, the LSA build is still on the way. I just have 2 swaps before I can get to it. We're still collecting parts for it. Holly, of course, is back ordered. The ZL1 lids are back ordered. So I got about $4,000 or $5,000 in parts that are back ordered. The transmission's here, it's at home. Because I already have 2 underneath here. So once I get one of these out, I'll bring that transmission here. So transmission's at the house. We got about $4,000 in parts on back order, and then we got a whole box of stuff in the office with all the fittings and stuff for the fuel and the intercooler and all that good stuff. So we'll go into that build when the time comes. But for now, let's get going on this thing. This is a 95 Impala. All right, we got it in the air. What the hell is that? Y'all see that? What is that? I don't know, but he can stay where he's at. But anyway, we're up under this thing. I mean, it's built nice. We got some hooker aero chambers, mufflers on it, X-pipe. Nice, nice. But woo, she's got an oil leak. And I forgot to mention, it's got a B&M ratchet shifter up there too. Looks like a stock torque converter. But yeah, she's leaky. But anyway, yep, look at that. there's your knock sensor. Okay, the wire is intact, but it is frayed a little bit. So it could be grounding out on that insulation. So we'll clean that up. That's one knock sensor there, and then we got another knock sensor right there. So we'll take those out, we'll clean them up, we'll check the wiring and all that good stuff. Looks like somebody put a new set of plugs in it. So plugs have been changed, wires look new, Opti looks new, just super oily. So looks like oil cooler lines are leaking, belt is coming off. It's normal. I see those oil cooler lines leaking all the time, but probably needs a crank seal or an Opti seal. Something's pulling that belt off, though. I'm imagining it's going to be that high output alternator. You know, she's not bad. She needs some work, because these things right here are a no-no. I hate those things, but you know. So, all right, let's pull these knock sensors out, clean them up. We'll check this wiring over here, see how it looks, and then we'll pull them out of the block and just check them over. But as far as the codes, that's the only code that I've found is that 43 code, which is a knock sensor code. So we'll investigate that, and let me pull them out and kind of go from there. All right, got you guys set up on my makeshift tripod, which is really just my transmission jack. I got the key on, and I got the power probe here. I like to use a power probe instead of a multimeter, just that way, because this hooks up to the same power as this is getting. So from what Identifix says, the acceptable range at the wire for these knock sensors I should have 5 volts at each knock sensor with them unplugged, and with them plugged in, I should have 2.5 volts. So if it reads 5 volts on each side, then I know the wiring is good for the most part. But I did see, once I cleaned it up, I did see some fraying on the other wire. So let's see, I needed both hands for this. That's why I set you guys up. So let's see what this one says. It's 4.8, so that's acceptable. Throws a code at, I think it said anywhere from 1.5 to 3.5 volts, it'll throw a code. So it's got 4.8 at that side. All right, let's see what this side says. And at this one, we got 4.8. Okay. So we know it's not a wiring issue. So that's an easy way to kind of figure that out. What I'm going to check now, I'm going to check the ohm resistance on the actual knock sensor to the block, not to the block, the ground. Should be 40, I think it said 4,800 or 4,900 ohms should be the resistance on the knock sensor itself. So we'll check that, see where it comes back to. Let me just double check. Let me double check that parameter and make sure that's correct. Those things look pretty crusty. And then this one, we definitely have to repair this wire. I mean, it could definitely be shorting out here. And I mean, look at this. This is all exposed here. Oh, you gotta pay attention what the camera's looking at. Yeah, see that wire's all exposed there, and right up here, it could be shorting out on this, because this is metal, kind of. So I'll give them a list of stuff. Let me check the resistance on the knock sensor itself and see what the resistance is on it. If that's within range, then it could be a faulty knock sensor in the computer. I think I have a 95 computer around here somewhere. Worst case scenario, I can pull the one out of this car, because this is a 94 and they're the same. So let me do that. Let me check the resistance on that. We know the wiring's good. We have just about 5 volts at the connector. So if the resistance on the knock sensor is not correct, then we know we need knock sensors. Let me just double check the freaking value it's supposed to be. All right, and also shout out to lt1swap.com. That guy actually commented on one of my posts on Facebook. So shout out to him. I've been using his website for years. But as you can see, knock sensor is going to be the blue connector. I think it's the blue one. Yeah, the blue connector, and it's going to be pin 22. It's a dark blue wire. That's your knock sensor signal. So we're going to check it at the computer too to see what the voltage is there. But I'm pretty sure it's fine because it is. We got 5 volts at the wire, so I'm pretty sure the wiring is fine. I am going to repair that one wire, but I got to see how to check the module in the computer. So what we have to figure out is how we determine whether it's the computer or the knock sensors. So that's kind of where we're at now, because pulling the knock sensors out, it's in a coolant passage. So when you pull it out, a bunch of coolant's going to come out. So I'm going to check the ohm reading on it. I said I was going to do that. So let's do that and see where it's at. I believe it's 4,900 ohms. And actually, I couldn't even find that information on Identifix. I found it on the Impala SS forum. So I just searched code 43 and it actually gave me the same information I had found in Identifix. So it gave me 5 volts on key wire. So but what I was looking for was this here, and then D22, like it says blue 22 in the back end computer. Repair the wire from the computer sensor. So now we got to measure the resistance between the knock sensor terminal and ground. Not sensor is faulty, or the sensor is not making good contact with the block. So that's what we have to check now. So should be 3,300 to 4,500 ohms for an OBD1 application. And then we'll check from the knock sensor connector to the block, and then we'll check from the knock sensor connector to the sensor, the metal on the sensor itself. So if all that's good, then it may be a faulty knock module. In case of 94 through 97, the problem with the computer itself. So that'll be a first. I have yet to come across one of these B-bodies with where the answer was a computer. Like I said, it's very rare. So let me do that resistance test with I believe I can do it with my multimeter. And if that all checks out, then we know the issue is the computer. So let's get back under there. All right, so we should measure 0 when we touch them together to make sure it's good. 0, okay. So, backlight. All right, so we got one probe on the terminal, and then we'll just put the other probe on the frame. Let's see, let's find a good ground point. All right, what is that? 3.9, so that's 3,900 ohms. Oh, I'm sorry, the resistance was 3,300 to 4,500, so we are within spec on that knock sensor. All right, so that knock sensor is good. All right, let's check the other one. So it looks like this one's been replaced at some point. Let's see, and this one's 3.3901, 3.92 ohms. Okay, so we have verified that the wiring is good, because we have 5, even though this wiring is frayed and all that, it is good because we got 4.8 volts at key on with the you know what we didn't test though? We didn't test the resistance with them plugged in at key on. It should be 2.5. So I'm pretty sure I already know it's the knock thing in the computer, the knock module in the computer that's gone bad. But just to be 100%, we'll plug these back in. Oh, this is broken. Which could be part of the problem. This knock sensor is broken. Yeah, because that's the piece that is supposed to be on there. All right, so we do have to replace one knock sensor for sure, because one of them's broken. But we know that the module itself is good. We know the wiring is good because we have 5 volts key on 4.8, and 0.2 is not going to make that big of a difference, but we have 4.8 volts at the wiring for the connectors. We have 3900 ohms from the knock sensor to ground. So the only other thing it could be is the knock module in the computer. All right, so I will, I'll call the customer, let them know, hey, we need a knock sensor for sure, because that one's broken. So even though the knock sensor itself is good, the body of it is broken. So we are gonna go, I'll just go ahead and replace both because the other one's kind of crusty too. So we'll put a set of knock sensors in it and we'll get a PCM. I'll probably hit Ivan because you can't really get these things new. And I'll do some research because I believe that knock module by itself can be replaced. But I'll get into all that once I dig a little further. But we know for sure the problem is not the wiring. We know it's not the modules themselves. So the last thing it could be is the knock module in the PCM. And based on them changing all the other stuff, the ignition control module, the distributor, the wires, the spark plugs chasing this problem, I think the computer is the last thing, and we kind of just verified that that is the problem. So this is kind of what I do here. That took me, you know, with filming and stuff like that, 10-15 minutes. You know, so, but I just wanted to bring you guys along, show you another side, because a lot of times I diagnose off camera and I just show the fixing part. So I just want to show you guys I do actually take my time and diagnose these cars. And the next project is this one. So this one just came in as well. We actually got 4 cars today. So we got this one here. This one I believe has an overheating problem, some type of short in the fuse box, and something else. So we'll dive into this one here in a minute, try to diagnose it. But first things first, we gotta go ahead and contact the customer on this, get us a deposit for parts, do the work, test it, make sure it's good, and send her home. So I wanted to put out another video today, so just wanted to bring you guys along for my journey here diagnosing these cars. I'll see y'all in the next video, man.